Trying to heal from someone who moved on before you did feels like standing in the middle of a story you're still living while watching the other person close the book and walk away without hesitation. It creates a special kind of heartbreak, one that mixes sadness with disbelief, longing with confusion, love with a painful sense of abandonment. So breathe with me now, slowly, gently. Let your inhale loosen the tightness that rises when you imagine them living a life where you no longer exist. Let your exhale soften the weight of watching someone you cared for step into a future that no longer includes you. You are safe here. You are allowed to feel everything you are feeling, because healing isn't about pretending you don't hurt. Healing begins with honesty, with acknowledging the ache that spreads through your body whenever you face the truth. They moved on before you were ready, and you are left holding emotions that have nowhere to go. There is a very particular ache in realizing that the person who once held your heart has adjusted faster than you have. You see them smiling, laughing, working, living, as if the chapter you shared didn't leave the same imprint on them as it did on you. And your chest tightens, not because you want to bring them back, but because your heart hasn't caught up to the ending. Your nervous system is still attached to the emotional pattern they once provided. Your memories are still fresh. Your expectations are still unwinding. Take another breath and release the tension that comes from comparing your timeline to theirs. Healing is not a race. There is no medal for whoever forgets first. Just because they moved on quickly doesn't mean they cared more or cared less. It means their heart took a different path, one you're not meant to follow. You are not failing because you're still processing what happened. You are not behind because you still feel the loss. You are human, and humans take different amounts of time to grieve, understand, release, and rebuild. Let that truth quiet the part of you that keeps asking, "Why am I still hurting when they seem fine?" The part of you that still aches is the part that loved deeply. The part that still remembers is the part that cared sincerely. That doesn't make you weak, that makes you genuine. When someone moves on before you do, it triggers a sense of emotional abandonment. Your mind knows the relationship is over, but your body feels like you've been left behind. You may find yourself replaying old moments, searching for clues, wondering what made the ending so easy for them. You may question your worth, analyzing every detail of the past to understand why their goodbye seemed lighter than your grief. That spiral is natural, but it is not the truth. The truth is that emotional timelines are personal. Some hearts disconnect early, quietly, long before the breakup ever happens. Some people bury their emotions quickly, not because they are stronger, but because they are afraid to face the depth of their pain. And some simply weren't as emotionally invested as you were, not because you were unworthy, but because their heart was not aligned with yours. Sit with that for a moment. Feel how it softens the self-blame. Feel how it dissolves the illusion that you weren't enough. You were enough, you just weren't their path. And paths matter more than performances. Let your breath remind your body that their progress has nothing to do with your value. The pace at which someone moves on reflects their emotional wiring, their coping mechanisms, their unfinished wounds, their readiness or unreadiness, not your desirability. Healing slower does not make you less. It makes you real. It means you are processing deeply instead of running from the pain. You don't have to match their timeline. You don't have to rush your heart. You don't have to compete with the speed at which they forget. Tonight, let yourself exist outside of comparison. bring your attention back to your own breath, your own heartbeat, your own pace. Let your heart know it is safe to heal at the rhythm it chooses. Let the ache surface without fighting it. When you release the need to keep up with someone else's healing, your body finally begins its own. Their journey is not your reference point. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to grieve. You are allowed to feel the sting of being left behind and still trust that your future isn't defined by this moment. One day, the pain of seeing them move forward will fade into something distant. One day, their life will stop feeling connected to your sense of worth. One day, your heart will understand the truth your mind already knows. Their timeline has nothing to do with your destiny. But tonight, breathe through the heaviness. You don't have to be where they are. You only have to be where you are. Trying to heal from someone who moved on before you did creates an ache that lives in the spaces your breath hasn't reached yet. When you see them living freely, stepping into new routines, connecting with new people, or simply existing without the weight that still sits on your chest, something inside you feels left behind in a timeline that no longer belongs to them. It isn't jealousy, it's grief. It's the grief of realizing you are still carrying a story they have already put down. So inhale slowly, letting air move into the rooms inside your chest that feel abandoned, and exhale the heaviness that tells you their pace should match your own. They are not the metric of your healing. When someone moves on faster, your mind begins to ask painful questions. Was I the only one who cared? Was everything I felt one-sided? Was the relationship real? Or was I imagining a deeper connection than what they actually shared? Your body reacts to these questions with tension because somewhere deep inside, you fear the ending meant you were less important than you believed. But breathe with me. Let the truth settle, not the fear. People do not all process endings the same way. Some disconnect long before the breakup. Some fear vulnerability and rush into distractions. Some numb themselves by starting new connections they are not ready for. And some simply don't know how to sit with the emptiness that healing requires. So they run ahead hoping distance will protect them from the pain. You, however, are not running. You are facing what is inside you, and that is courage, not weakness. The fact that you still feel deeply is a sign that your heart is honest. The fact that you need time is a sign that the relationship mattered. Nothing about that is shameful. Take another breath and let this truth soften you. Their quick healing is not proof that your connection was meaningless. It is proof that they are on a different emotional timeline. And your timeline deserves respect. Healing slowly doesn't make you broken. It makes you authentic. When someone moves on while you are still hurting, the hardest part is not losing them. The hardest part is losing the version of yourself that existed when you still felt chosen. That version felt secure, seen, valued. When the connection ended, your body kept searching for that sense of belonging, because the emotional blueprint doesn't disappear as fast as the person does. That's why some nights you feel lost inside yourself. You're not missing them. You're missing the version of yourself you were when love felt possible. Sit with that gently. Let your breath reassure you that you are not losing that version forever. You are transitioning into a new one shaped not by their presence, but by your resilience. You might think they're ahead of you, but healing isn't a line you walk in order. It's an unfolding. Sometimes the heart blooms slowly after it breaks. Sometimes your light returns in quiet ways long after they've moved forward. And sometimes what looks like progress in others is just escape dressed as confidence. You don't know what they carry. You only know what you feel, and what you feel is valid. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Imagine your inhale gathering every piece of yourself that was scattered, trying to understand why they let go so quickly. Imagine your exhale releasing the story that their pace determines yours. You are not behind. You are exactly where your heart needs to be to heal honestly. Grief that is rushed becomes grief that returns. Grief that is felt becomes grief that fades. You are feeling it, and that means you are dissolving it. Slowly, quietly, steadily. Healing isn't about forgetting them. Healing is about remembering yourself. The self that existed before they walked away. The self that will exist after this pain softens. The self that is learning, breath by breath, that your worth does not change just because someone else's timeline moved faster. One day you will think of them and feel nothing sharp. One day you will see them moving on and your body will no longer react. One day you will realize the story you're still carrying is loosening its grip without you forcing anything. Healing doesn't happen with willpower. It happens with presence, with breath, with honesty, and you are doing that now. So rest. Let the night hold the emotions you've been carrying. Let your breath be the proof that you are still here, still growing, still becoming someone who will one day be grateful you didn't rush your way through this pain. Someone who will move on in a way that feels real, grounded, complete. You are not behind. You are unfolding.